Now, I mentioned this about the black flag outside the central bank in Dublin the other day when they wanted to march outside the GPO. This is tied into their return of the MAHDI, right? This is what they want, and there's certain passages that mention this thing with the black flags, right? I'll let this play. This is in Portugal today, so I'll let this play here and have a look at this. So you had this Portuguese nationalist here talking, got on the rooftop here and talked down. I'll go on for a sec. You can read the subtitle. So you can see it's quite clearly the same that we face in Ireland. We're being invaded by these people who do not want to assimilate one bit. They want to they're here to bleed and basically try to take over. That's what they're here for, right? At the behest of the government. Could have chosen another time to like that, but anyway, this goes on, right? And blah blah blah. Cops end up going guard. Look, Portuguese police end up going up. I'll play this.
É ridículo que em Portugal os portugueses sejam presos por protestar pacífica e legalmente contra a substituição populacional. Que vergonha. Os imigrantes ilegais não são presos, mas um português por protestar.
So he's letting you know that this is ridiculous. Peaceful assembly. For protesting against the replacement of the Portuguese people, and this is the way the Portuguese police are treating them, right? Now, this thing with the black flags, right? I'm gonna go through a little reference here about black flags in the Islamic Hadith eschatology, okay? Because it was a couple of months ago, I watched this documentary by a guy who goes way back into all of this stuff and starts talking about how when these fuckers want to have their Mahdi come back, right? That they're gonna be using black flags to symbolise it. And I've seen one outside the central bank in Dublin. Now I'm after seeing one here in Portugal. And the police are still, ignoring the fact that you've these extremist feckers that go around banging on their chest. I forget what that's called. Is it Kafiri or something? Kafari. I forget what the name of that's called, what they're doing when they go around banging on their chest. But that's them showing dominance and that they want to usher in their Mahdi. That's the whole point of it, okay? So several Hadith. Now it's the Hadith when people talk about child marriage and all that sort of stuff. All that's stemming from the Hadith, okay? Don't mind the Quran, the Hadith is the part that they're all following or they're all supporting. Mention black flags in relation to apocalyptic events or the appearance of the Mahdi. One of the most often cited Hadith says, if you see the black banners coming from Khorasan, right? And Khorasan, I looked into that. It's a place in Iran. And what just got bombed over recently by the Americans? Iran, right? It was like the Americans went in and stored up the hornet's nest. What for? Time will tell. If you see the black banners coming from Khorasan, go to them, even if you have to crawl over snow, because among them is the caliph of Allah, the Mahdi. Right? Many scholars consider this hadith to Many consider this hadith due to its issues with the chain of narration. Others argue it was politically motivated propaganda, possibly fabricated during or after the Abbasid revolution to legitimize their claim of power. The Khorasan reference matches regions of which the Abbasids launched their uprising. Now, as far as I could see, it was central Iran, this Khorasan area, whatever, right? Times that happened in the past. The Abbasids rose in opposition to the Umayyads, mobilizing forces in Khorasan. They chose black banners to symbolize their movement, contrasting the white banners. After victory, they institutionalized black in their royal dress, architecture, and flags. It became a dynastic symbol. So it goes well back. It goes really well back. Black flags linked with modern extremists such as ISIS, Al Qaeda, Al Nusra, Jabhat al Nusra. They normally bear black flag, often referred to as the black standard, bearing the Shahada, which means there is no God but Allah. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah on the top. There's another one which within the Shahada, whatever the fuck they want to call that shy, which means punishment. So that flag that was outside the central bank, that had punishment on it in their language. In their capital city in Ireland. Why they use it? Because they're trying to mimic previous uprisings that happened and were victorious under this banner. They invoke the apocalyptic Hadith and recruit followers who believe they are part of a divine mission. I've always said that that's what these fuckers are, that's what they think, They're often asked, what's the punishment for apostate when it comes to that religion? And they'll tell you, it's, they can kill you off, like they'll murder you off, they'll unalive you, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But that's the punishment for trying to leave that religion. I just keep seeing more and more of these black flags springing up, and I'm taking it as a sign, as a warning, Just because some people out there don't believe it doesn't mean that it's not. Doesn't mean that they don't believe it. These fuckers well believe it. And did you hear that passage from the Hadith that says, if you see this flag, to go to him? If you see the black banners coming from Khorasan, go to them, even if you have to crawl over snow, because among them is the caliph of Allah, the MAHDI. And I just keep seeing the black flag more and more springing up. That's the third one I've seen. There was another one I seen in France. But this is the third one now in Portugal. So that's France, Ireland and Portugal I've seen this flag in. One to keep an eye out. And if you see it, do a video on it, share it. Warn people about what this flag represents.